Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
Welcome to Breaking Barriers, guys. So just so you know, when you go after it, like if you're going on a rant about something, this is your camera, right? So if you want to go on something, boom, that's it. But we're super excited to have you here. You've been in the real estate industry for over 10 years now.
Yeah.
Over in Brooklyn.
Years.
Yeah, in Brooklyn. Obviously an entrepreneur, you know, you're doing 4 a.m. event space, right? So it's something that obviously we'll dive a little bit deeper on a little bit. But the real big question I have for you is like, so what first got you into real estate 10 years ago? What like made you say, boom, I want to get in this industry?
Well, I've always been a fan of real estate in general, from like home decor.
Right.
I grew up in Brooklyn, so I'm a fan of the brownstones and the culture and the character.
Love brownstones.
And I started off my working career in Department of Corrections, which is kind of like complete opposite, and I'm looking at real estate from the outside.
Right.
So I decided 10 years ago to take that dive into the field that I like, and I could talk to a certain extent, people tend to gravitate to me, so I figured my ideal side of real estate is to be home owner, landlord, you know, that situation, that side of the field, an investor from that side of the field, but I approached it from an agent level, the entry level agent, and I've been pretty much doing good from that point. Now I want to pretty much capitalize on being an agent, brand myself, have an identity, and focus on a specific area of my business.
What have you seen? So obviously Brooklyn, what I love about Brooklyn's market is the charm and how far it's come just in a couple decades, right? What have you seen in just 10 years in Brooklyn that has been like pretty impressive to you, who's like from Brooklyn, like, right?
What do you mean as far as like the
just like the growth of it, like, right? Like everybody moves to Brooklyn.
Pretty much Brooklyn's kind of like a production company at this point. every 90 days we get a facelift. It's exciting. The energy is just being mixed up. It's kind of like a melting pot, but it is exciting to see.
Right.
My biggest issue is that it is kind of like being like, the culture is being vanished. Nobody know where this person came from. Nobody know who's here. Nobody know how long you're going to be here. It's kind of like getting that hotel, right? They're trying to hold zip code, the borough, into a big Hyatt hotel. Right. Money-wise is perfect, but it is getting kind of like crowded and oversaturated, and overpriced. Right. So we can create some value back. It's losing its value. It's usually like the core, what it's known for. So we can like kind of like create some type of balance. I'm more for growth, but it's still like if you lose yourself in the midst of that. Right. That's what I'm trying to build the brand around. Kind of like as a person who's born and raised in Brooklyn. You want to protect that community. Protect it, but respect the growth at the same time. Right.
Which makes sense. And I remember, so like, you know, because in the real estate sector for us, we've been doing it for over a decade. Yeah. And I remember some of our New York clients where it's like, you know, over 10 years ago, people like weren't moving to Brooklyn as often as they are now. Now people like, that's like a trendy first option. Not like, oh damn, Manhattan's too expensive. I'm gonna go figure out, you know, Long Island or Brooklyn. Now it's like Brooklyn's so trendy that like everybody's just going to Brooklyn.
It's cool to be rugged. Like the same thing that scares you away is bringing you attractions in that. Like the Broadway, which used to be rugged and run down, and you know, the spray paint and everywhere, the graffiti. Right. Now it's cool. Before it was like, I gotta watch my purse. Now it's like, I need a can of graffiti. Right. So like it's all perception and psychological from that point. The same brick and mortar is there, the same people there. But like I said, that perception is what gives Brooklyn value. Totally. Because the Brooklyn is still the same place. Besides the new developments, it's still the same things going on. Right. But the way people perceive things make you more welcome, and you also get more bang for your buck out there. Right. Right. Pretty much. We're on the other side of the Williamsburg Bridge. Williamsburg is pretty much the new Lower East Side. Right. You know, Fort Greene, Clinton House is pretty much the new East Village. So it's, you know, same prices. I can't say that the prices flux that much, but you definitely get more square footage. Right. So I think that's more appealing, and the fact that you can actually, like, you know, in a sense, get a better neighborhood vibe. Right. You know? And it's so cool to see that transition. One of the things, so we always have people like asking some questions, and you know, so one of the questions that we had asked is, you know, so is there a specific routine that you have to set yourself up for success in the morning or at night that you do some sort of, whether it's a ritual or something that you do, hobby, whatever, you know, to get yourself set up for success the next day? Is there anything you do? Like you like one of those guys that wakes up early and works out, or does this, or goes for a run, or what? I don't think I could say my rituals. Of course you can. My podcast is explicit on all streaming platforms because I like to curse. I'm a very cannabis-friendly person. Okay. So, you know, I align myself spiritually and mentally. I'm more like a holistic person. So in the morning, my regimen is pretty much, you know, first hour, wake up, clear my mind. I don't touch the phones. I might smoke. I live in Coney Island, so my house is directly on the beach.
Got it.
I like to take advantage of my surroundings.
I love the no phone thing. And so, what does that do for you? Like not having the sensory and that in your face, like that just kind of clears your mind before the day starts.
And let me clear my thoughts for the day and see what I got to tackle and what's really tangible and what's a plus.
Right.
If I can get through the day with that, and as long as I knock down something throughout the day, pretty much step by step. That's really my mentality. But I need that fresh air. I need that first L to really curate those thoughts and get rid of what was yesterday and move into today. That's kind of how I ground myself.
Are you indica or sativa?
Throughout the
Are
day,
you hybrid?
Like I said, it's moods.
Okay, so it's sativa.
Throughout the day, in the morning, I'm sativa because I need to focus. I'm not trying to miss a beat.
Right.
After a long day, I might be an indica guy. Well, guaranteed to be an indica guy.
Right. I've never been somebody who was sativa. Like a lot of my friends growing up would be like, "Oh, I'm going to the gym," and they would smoke or do whatever they would do, go to the gym, do like that. I've never been that guy. I wasn't the guy who's like, I need to be on a couch or chilling and just laughing my fucking ass off. Like I've never been able to go do active stuff in public like that.
Yeah, see, that's me. I'm always like an deep thought person. I'm a Pisces.
Yeah.
So my brain is always all over the place, and I've been smoking since I was about 16 years old. Before it was cool.
Right.
I've never been a social smoker, but I've always been like my thoughts is always overcrowded, and I've always been like my scapegoat.
Right.
So I think I handle the cannabis pretty much differently from everybody else. I don't even smoke with peers.
Oh, so you just do your own thing?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you respect my space, I respect yours. I mean, we can smoke mutually, but like I said, I'm real particular about who
you got a system.
I got a whole system. That is my system. I use that for my business. I use that to even calm my nerves and anxiety with clients. Right. Like all the way around, I incorporate cannabis into my lifestyle.
Wow. See, this is cool because I know so many people who are super successful that do smoke, and like you don't know like low key people who smoke because they like you said, like you do it yourself. You have your own thing. And a lot of people in the past, before it was more legalized like it is now and it's more acceptable, by most people, it was looked at like, oh, like you're a pothead or what are you doing, whatever. But a lot of really successful people, and again, not just business or economically, right? Some that are in charity or nonprofit, like they enjoy, the same thing, letting their mind loose a little bit.
Because
this guy over here especially,
the health benefits always been there. We just getting rid of the stigma.
Yeah.
Like I said, we live in America. It's always business.
Totally.
So, I mean, if it was demonized, I don't blame you for having that perception. But like I said, I'm more like a out of the matrix. I'm more in tune with myself kind of person. And I've always been geared towards what make me feel better, what make me operate better.
Totally.
And that's been the cannabis for a long time.
Yeah. So, if it works, why are you going to try to fix it or break it?
Exactly. And now we're in a world where it is legal, like you said. So
it's legal in New York too?
It's legal in New York.
Good, okay.
Recreationally, and then it's not a crime, it's a violation at this point.
Okay. If you're doing it.
If you're smoking.
If you get caught doing it.
If you get caught smoking, it's really much. You can have up to, I think, a pound of weed, and you're good.
So you're all fine. Okay.
You're pretty much fine. Yeah.
So if you're smoking, but like even a violation though is like not a big deal before you get arrested.
You can't sell weed.
Got it.
You could gift weed at this point. It's still being regulated in New York.
Wow.
But as far as smoking a joint in the corner, you could do that.
Okay. I never thought about it that way. So if you have so much on, you're like, I'm gifting it instead of distributing it.
I'm smoking it. I'm just literally, this is really my weed. I'm smoking it throughout the day.
Right.
So that fear is gone. And I think, that's part of 4am also. Like 4am, like I said, it's angel numbers. It means culture, power, freedom.
Right.
In that order.
Right.
And I feel like cannabis has been a part of everybody's life.
Totally.
Secretly, like you said.
Under wraps.
For years.
Right.
So that it is, that's why it's accessory to that brand. It's a cannabis-friendly brand. Like, we out in the open now.
Right.
And I'm just not trying to sell cannabis like it's a drug deal. Like I said, I smoke on moods, smoke for my alignment, smoke for focus, smoke for relaxation, anxiety.
Right.
So I want to just introduce it to people in a way that is normal, and in a way that can appeal to a 15-year-old, or an 18-year-old, or a 65-year-old. So. And
so at 4am, so that's really cool. So for people listening in, that like, oh damn, that's really cool. I want to interact or engage with that. So you were talking about like, you're going to be building out a membership and other things like that. So talk to us about that.
So 4am is kind of like, it's a lifestyle brand, like I said.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a platform for musicians.
Any sort of artist.
Any art, like physical artists. I want to say, it's going to be a platform in my house for different forms of art to collab. Musicians, artists. We incorporate NFTs. We incorporate a lot of tech in the stage, like intimate sessions for like bands. I say you had a comedian show, comedy show.
Right.
The space only about 2,000 square feet right now, so it's real good for intimate sessions. But we want to 10x those sessions by streaming them into the metaverse.
Right.
I want to collab with artists for paintings and designers who can make limited collection merchandise and create NFTs out of that. We're going to do several projects, but it's kind of like a collaboration. For women, it's a collaboration for different artists, different platforms.
Right.
It's kind of like a record company, but we don't only make music. We
Got
don't
it.
make music at all.
Got it.
Pretty much.
So anybody watching, you better check that out. Obviously, you said site and stuff's coming soon, right?
Yeah, site's coming soon. The
Instagram's up though.
The Instagram was up. 4 a.m. NYC events.
Yep.
We do open mics on Friday. We got a poetry night coming up tomorrow. We got comedy shows lining up. We got designers. We're gonna do like an open designer market on Wednesdays. You can come get your merchandise pressed up, screen printed on, embroidered. Working
That's
with
cool.
brands to like commissioning art.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do art gallery nights. We're gonna do like a lot of industry nights, fashion shows.
Right. And in Brooklyn, where you are, I mean, that's like the center of all that.
Pretty much beyond Bushwick, right on Broadway. Technically, it's the only Broadway in Brooklyn.
Right.
The second one is in Manhattan. So we got the only stage on Broadway in Brooklyn.
And I feel like that's like the center. That's the center of culture,
Center of
art,
culture, yeah.
all that stuff that you have that you want to have there. Like I feel like when I think of people who are super creative, that's typically where they tend to gravitate towards. So
Pretty much the melting pot.
Bam! I mean, that's an epic selection of place, right?
Exactly, and it's prime real estate
very
also.
Intentional.
It's prime real estate. It's still North Brooklyn. We in Bed-Stuy, Bushwick.
Right.
So if we're doing real estate,
Yeah.
it'd be right here.
Wow.
A lot of off-market properties, a lot of investment properties going on, a lot of new developments going on. A lot of sellers want to leave Brooklyn for different reasons.
Right.
I'm here. That's the whole point of incorporating
Bang.
real estate.
Right.
Come meet your broker. Let's learn more about what's going on.
Right.
Let's incorporate some mortgage brokers, some more local agents, and let's get in the sellers. Let's get these landlords in tune and what's going on and manage some expectations to make money.
Yeah. So let me ask you about that. So with mortgage rates, right? So with mortgage rates, I feel like everyone's scared of shit right now with those rates. What are your thoughts? Where do you think it's going to go? And also, what do you tell people who are like, damn, Tony, like I want to get something, like I'm itching to get something, but like I don't want to pay 8%, right, mortgage rate, like because typically in New York, obviously you have high HOA fees typically too if it's a nice building. So what do you tell people when they're scared about that?
I mean, mortgage rates kind of like the stock market. I mean, you get in when you can fit in. I think as far as Brooklyn, our market is strong. Our market, New York, period, our market is different from the rest of the world.
Right.
So I mean, if you're paying a high interest rate now, if you can get in, get in. This storm won't last. You can refinance, you'll have equity, you can balance it out.
Right.
Like I said, it'll work out in your favor if you could withstand 2-3 years. But I understand that as a working person, the interest rates could be the determining factor between qualifying for a loan and not.
Right.
So, like I said, it's case by case.
It's tough, right?
It's real tough. It's case by case, but that's real estate.
Yeah, because again, if you're an investor, obviously you're not worried about that.
If you're not an investor, something on side of the fence. If you're an investor, this could be the greatest opportunity.
Sure, you're grabbing great properties. You date the rate and then you drop it, right?
Exactly.
Once the rate drops.
Exactly.
But like you said, it's tough. So a lot of people, because like again, like what's wild to me. So one of my friends, they just bought a house over here in Jersey. It's not a big house, probably less than 1,000 square feet. And I think he bought it for like low 3s. And his mortgage payment's almost $3,000 a month. And when you look at that, like a couple months back, before the rate was where it is, it was you can get a $700,000 house at $4,200, which is only $1,000 off, or I'm sorry, a couple hundred off of what he's paying
now
for a $300,000 house.
It's a fact.
But that's those rates, right? It's what makes it scary. But to your point, it's like if
we went from 2% or 2.5% 2 years ago,
right,
to 4 times that.
Right. But yeah, so that's like the one key part. So where do you see, like, essentially, like, I want to say, because like obviously a big focal point for you is Brooklyn, right? Where do you see Brooklyn going in the next 5 years, 10 years, in terms of just like the saturation, or like the type of people are going there? Like, there's a lot of really big artists that go to Brooklyn right away. So like, what do you see happening in Brooklyn over the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I see Brooklyn stabilizing somewhat.
Right.
Because we're running out of lots. We're running out of new developments to build.
Right.
I think we're going to crash at some point, and it's hard to say. Like Brooklyn,
it's tough, right?
It's really hard to say. Like Brooklyn still have, like I said, brownstones. We got the new developments. I think over the past 5 years, like I said, even though it is a big melting pot, everybody pretty much getting used to the adjustments or embracing them a little bit more. And in 5 years, it could revert back to a newly developed, or more culture with Brooklyn. Like I said, people just not used to the new faces.
Right.
But they are bringing more business, more opportunities, and a better lifestyle.
Right.
So like I said, everybody awareness is catch up in the next 5 to 6 years, and I think we could have a good Brooklyn in our hands, like a mini Brooklyn. I mean, mini Manhattan.
Mini Manhattan.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like it's going to.
Yeah, it's like a mini lower Manhattan. Like you get like the same people.
You don't have to leave Brooklyn technically.
You don't have to leave.
Right.
And I think, like I said, as opposed to Manhattan, like we got more space, we got more neighborhood, and maybe neighborhood-friendly vibes that people make these homeowners not want to leave so much.
Right.
Not want to commute so much. You could go to your neighborhood grocery store. You could go child care here. It's not like Manhattan when you got to go 20 blocks and pay a premium just for a certain neighborhood. Like the things that we got to offer in Brooklyn is whatever I think it's going to, in 5-6 years after things settle down, it's going to make the culture stick. Right. On a higher level.
And that's big. And is the school systems good in Brooklyn? That I don't know.
I do not have any kids.
Right. Okay. So,
but from what I know, yeah, pretty good. Williamsburg.
I'm sure that's got to be on the up and up, obviously, because how.
But I think we got a pretty prime, prestigious education system, especially out in Brooklyn, in certain neighborhoods, especially North Brooklyn. Right. Fort Greene, like we got like prime. Clinton Hill, we got like prime art schools, technical schools, fashion schools. Like our education system is pretty.
So it's okay, cool. That's really cool to know. So another question that we got asked from a listener is, when it comes to sales, right? So you've been in real estate for over 10 years, which means that you got to be good at selling. Yeah. You know, at this point, you're selling salt to a slug, right? You've been in the game. Where did you develop? Like, have you developed it from personal development courses, or is it just you in the field learning yourself? Like, how did you grow and get into this field, which is so heavily revolved on sales and networking?
I want to say being able to just talk and understand the person, not so much the sales. I started off doing a lot of rentals. Right. And rentals is kind of like you're dealing with 5 or 6 personalities per day. And you gotta learn how to pretty much assess a person, like they pain. Right. Pretty much, you gotta learn how to mirror people. Right. Becoming a therapist and not their advisor. They don't want to hear numbers and square footage. It's only but so much you can say when you walk into an apartment. So I think the way you get better in sales is just learning through rentals, pretty much, and that those harsh interactions with no loyalty, and trying to figure out what's your zone and how your words come out and which neighborhoods feel like compliment you the most. Like all of those trial and errors gear you up for sales. I don't think you can even miss that. You can skip that step. Because even with sales, it's kind of like, you know, those clients is tiered. Right. And it's more so managing expectations than making a sale. Totally. You know, the other person, somebody under $1 million, they pretty much always want the $2 million home, or the home that's worth $2 million that their friend bought 10 years ago that went up in equity. Right. It's like we're in a different market, and like I said, you're more of a psychiatrist and a therapist than a realtor. When you become a realtor, last. Right. Psychiatrist first, get your people.
That's the easy part. Yeah. The real estate part's easy, it's just being that first.
You can't manage a client's expectations. Even if they're willing to pull a trigger, if they don't trust you, they won't. Right. They rather do it on their own. Right. So it's really just being relatable, managing expectations, and mixing a little bit of knowledge in between that. You'll learn the game, you'll learn the real estate. The more and more transactions you go, it's more organic. Getting your real estate license kind of like getting your driver's license. Everything you learn when you walk out your license, now you go on the road, and you pretty much forgetting everything that you just learned.
The real world.
The real world. So that's really what it is. Like, you know, who are, it's really like, that's why I say it's important to have a brand and identity in real estate as an agent. And the sooner you can zone in on it, the better. Because, especially if you're in New York and in the city, it's 1,000 homes in a 2-block radius. We live in condo buildings, high-rise buildings, put 1,000 people in there in one shot. Right. You know, I had the people come to New York for different reasons. Unless you want to go one day end up in the Bronx, and then the next day in Brooklyn, you're gonna have to start like, you know, what's your lane? What's your neighborhood?
Right.
You should start off with where you're from, where you communicate most of the days, and so you can talk more freely about. People want to know, like, okay, I got a nice apartment. What's around the corner? How do I get to work? Where's like you said, where's the schools at? Where's the coffee shop at?
Right.
If you can't talk fluently about the neighborhood, they're not going to trust you.
Totally.
So get your
gotta
people,
have like deep research.
Deep research on, just like I said, start in your community, start where you're from, start where you're familiar at, and those clients are going to come.
Right.
If you're going to ever transition to being a sales agent, because with sales, the bigger the price point, the higher the trust factor is. Nobody for $2 million want to hear about somebody who you can't tell them what's around the corner. You can't tell me what's special about this building.
Right.
So
yeah,
it takes time.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. I think that's such good advice though, because I think a lot of times people like to get into real estate for the sexiness of it. Like you look at $1 Million Listing or like these TV shows, and it's like you think you're just gonna be wearing a nice suit or whatever, going to show these crazy houses, and then the reality is like you're in rentals, right? And you're starting at rentals and working your game up from rentals.
And then walk up buildings, but no elevator.
A lot of quad exercises.
Yeah.
But so on that topic though, where do you I always like to ask this question, the evolution of where real estate has gone from, because I remember earlier, almost 13 years ago, where I had one client come to me and be like, hey John, listen, I'm looking for a logo. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because I want to make my own brand. And I remember in the time, that's when it started to pop off, where people are like, yeah, I'm not going to just be a Compass agent. I'm going to be, Tony in the Tony team from Compass, right? And they started building their own brands out. And then now you start to see these other companies now like Zillow, who are trying to cut out agents and make the deals go straight to the consumer, right? Where do you see real estate going? Being in it for 10 years, a decade's a long time. So do you have any thoughts on where you see it's going? Because there's also a lot of divides, right? You have people at the conventional Compass and the Corcoran or the Douglas Ellimans of the world. Then you have these other brands. Have you ever heard of EXP?
Yeah.
Or Real, right? It's that model of where you're getting downlines and getting residuals, and so where do you see it going, in your mind?
In my mind, I don't think you can completely X out an agent, especially right. in New York. We provide a service, we provide navigation, we provide neighborhood insight,
right?
Market insight that Zillow doesn't pretty much provide. Zillow could tell you what's on the market and who's selling it. Most of the people move to New York, especially if they're new to New York, especially if they're coming for business, they move them for convenience. And that's something that that's the undertone that you can't get from just a straight Street Easy or Zillow, however they want to do it.
Right.
So like I said, being an agent, that's one thing you need to focus on also, just providing value to your client. It's not all about the square footage and the amount of bedrooms, stuff that you can Google.
Right.
So that's one of the key things of being a core agent also. What a core agent is, Zillow cannot counter. Right. Or Street Easy. It's providing value to your property search, providing insight, getting access to properties before they even hit Zillow. Right. Those are things that only an agent can do. Right. So there's always a place for an agent in this world, especially in a big city like New York City. Right. Love it. And why? So for you particularly, why New York? Or do you ever think? Would you ever leave New York? I'm a New Yorker. Would you ever leave New York? I would leave New York, but I will always have a residence in New York. Okay. So where would you go? I'm open to listen. I feel like I'm a free spirit. I'm almost anywhere my feet take me. Florida, Georgia, Texas. Right. Canada, right? But I'm gonna always have a residence in the city, in New York. In New York, yeah. I feel like after a certain amount of success, I actually don't even need a home. Right. My ideology when it comes to that kind of stuff is kind of deep. Right. But yeah, my heart and what birthed me and what make me and saying who I am is New York City. Right. So I will always. I don't believe in abandoning your roots. I love that. I came from New York City. I'm a Brooklyn kid. I love that. I love that, man. We actually just got back from, we spoke at a Compass conference in Atlanta. In Atlanta, yeah, I was supposed to go. I was supposed to pull up on you in Atlanta. Yeah, that would have been great. That would have been great. I had an event at the space. I had a band playing. Okay. Yeah, but we were there. It was great. It was the first time in Atlanta. We loved it. That was the first time? That's dope. Yeah, first time. We had a great time there. But so speaking of different places, you mentioned Georgia, so we were in Atlanta. But so one of the last couple questions that I'll ask before I get to the good stuff is, so for you, what does success look like in your mind, right? So in Tony's mind, what does that, paint me that picture, right? What does that look like in your mind? Success is just peace and alignment. Whatever your goal is, it could be different for everybody else. But success is just peace when you feel like You know, and then financial freedom, when you feel like you don't have to worry about finances and you can just, you know, focus on what you feel like your purpose is here on earth and on this life and being a provider, or what you feel like being a man is. But success is when you pretty much have your finances out the way and you can pretty much build on your legacy. You know, and you keep doing that until the day you die. Whatever point you got somebody else to pick up from. But at least you leave behind something for somebody to pick up from. Right. That's success. You were successful.
I love that.
It had no dollar amount on it.
Yeah, right. You can't, right? And what I like though about that is, you know, success is measured so differently for so many people, right? Like some people, like, you know, like somebody who works in like Mother Teresa, right? Like Mother Teresa's success was helping people, right? Yeah. Like that was how she quantified success. And then, you know, you have business and you have your own, you know, peace of mind. I think it's a good one. It's important to have that peace of mind.
You got to work towards your peace of mind, whatever that is. Like you be a family man and you feel like you just want to own, you just want to be the biggest landlord. Like once you reach that plateau, you got to have some type of success in your soul that's not monetary, or else you're never going to reach it. Right. So it's kind of like, you know, you got to have balance. I know success comes with monetary. You need money as a tool. Right. But what are you building? Yeah. Like having a hammer, like, what are we building here?
What are we doing here? Yeah, that was deep. We can't forget that part. We're gonna have to make that the whole the caption for the podcast. I love that one.
Appreciate it.
So, okay, cool. So two last questions before we get to the juicy stuff, right? So what's like your proudest moment in real estate that you've had? Has there been like a moment where you were like you got a certain, maybe it was a deal or something? Is there a moment you think about when you think about like a crazy or awesome deal you got?
Well, one of the crazy experiences I had in real estate is the house that I grew up in Bed-Stuy. Actually, it was unfortunate we got kicked out of that building. Okay. And I wound up, I want to say, after it got fixed up, I wound up renting out the building that I grew up in.
No.
Showing my own bedroom. It looked totally different. It was all remodeled, but I'm like telling the people that I put there, like, listen, I can sleep right here. You know, I put my first girlfriend right here in this room.
There's some magic happening in this room.
Yeah, so I had a couple emotional experiences with real estate. I had some high profile clients that became friends. Yeah. I just had, real estate is a twist and turn. But I think that was my most, and selling a place where I grew up, where I slept at for 25 years. Wow. Was the most emotional attachment. Other than that, it's just been fun and money.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. What a crazy experience to be able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just picturing like my house that I grew up in. You know, just trying to like tour and show that house. Like that's probably surreal.
And then looking what it could have been if you had some extra money.
Right, to fix it up.
I seen the facelift and I seen the new layouts. It was like it was kind of like surreal at the same time walking through it. Like, wow, I think I want to trip over the stuff that I've been tripping over for years, and it's not there no more. Yeah, so that's my most surreal experience with real estate. Other than that, it's just like I said, deep. I've always been a people person. I like to talk to people. I'm always an outside kid. So I got a new client today, 5 clients today. It was kind of like exciting at first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know, it's so funny that you say that, because I used to live up North Jersey, and when my family moved down here in like 6th grade, it's just such a different, like, it's Jersey. New York is a different caliber of like people who are people, right? Like people like to talk, whatever. And I'll never forget when we first moved down here, like the neighbors and other people, like down here, because everything's so spread out, right? Like when you go to look at houses, like there's like you have your own property, you got what else stuff. People are not like walking out, hey, what's up, how you do? Like it's so different, right? And then when you're up north, everyone's like knocking on your door, can I borrow this, or can I do this, or whatever? Like it's so much more of a community. And in a city, I can't even imagine how much more it is like that. But it's like it's crazy how different it gets. The more you get into suburbia, the more people want peace and quiet, and they don't want to interact.
Yeah, and it's crazy how like everybody want what they don't have. You know?
Right.
Most people in the city begging for your lifestyle. Right. And you guys, it's like I said, it's the excitement of having more people, more accessible, and having that more community vibe. Right. But the downside is that those people, like I said, different personalities. Some sing, some not. Some just you don't want to be around. You know. Right. You got to imagine, like, let's say I want to say within driving 5 minutes in one direction here, you probably got about 300 residents. Right. We got that in one building.
What is that? That's crazy.
You got 10 of those buildings on one block.
That's a good point. The vertical living.
Yeah, and it's kind of like everybody is kind of like living that New York City hustle and coming and going, and it might not be as friendly as you think it should be.
Right. So that's awesome. What would be so? All right. So what would be a piece of advice that Tony today would give the most vulnerable Tony in your life at some point, right? Whenever that was. Could be high school, middle school, whatever, right? What advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know today, to that most vulnerable Tony?
Should have gotten into real estate when you was 21.
Never get right into it.
Yeah, jump into your dreams and follow your intuition. That's what I would have told my younger Tony. You don't need a city job. Don't worry about security. It'll come.
Right.
Just
stick to it.
Stick to it.
Yeah.
Stick to your alignment. Stick to what you feel, and it'll always work out.
Right.
And that's the most generic thing, but I learned that late. Like you really have to align your mental up and follow your gut, even if you don't really know what that is. The front, it'll always work itself out. I believe in walking by faith, not by sight.
Oh, I love that.
More than a lot at this point in my life, because I don't regret it. I mean, having a job do give you structure.
Yep.
Discipline that you need to be out on your own. You can't skip that step, but I'm not going to say you have to get a job to learn that. Just tap into yourself a lot more the earlier you can, and your life will play out right, however that is.
So we have like 5 names for this podcast. Walk with faith, not sight. Love that. Love that. We get that tattooed somewhere. But so, all right. Now we're gonna go to the 2 real deep questions.
Hit me.
All right. So we have let's call it. We have like a real spicy hot one, and then we have like a medium mild one. Which one do you want first?
Listen, I'm paying a meeting. Give me the spicy.
Love it. Okay. So you mentioned it earlier, right? So I like to think about legacy a lot, right? And legacy is something that you're going to be remembered for when you're not here, right? And who you were, what you did, what you left behind, all that stuff, right? And a lot of times I feel like as people we think about it from where our feet are right here today, right? And onward, right? So forward. So one of the things that I like to do, this little exercise and just kind of get other people's opinions, our thoughts from it, is if we reverse engineered that, right? And so today, knowing who you want to be, knowing who Tony wants to be based on your experience thus far in life and where you want to go, if you were to create the one thing that is going to bypass you, surpass, if you have kids in the future, family, whoever, whatever it is, people that know you on this planet, it's your gravestone, right? So if you were to write that today, right, generally speaking, what would be on that?
On my gravestone? Love, live life.
Love, live life, boom.
That's it.
Just straight to the point.
Love, live life. That's it. 3 words, and you remember Tony.
That's it. And so, can you elaborate that for me? So, what does that mean?
I mean, if you love yourself, I mean, that means whatever you do, right or wrong, you should be able to be content, have no regrets with that. Live your life. You only got one of them. If you really want to break it down to how much time we got on this earth and the average human life expectancy, you really ain't got that much time for too much BS. So just get your alignment right, like I said.
Yeah.
Love yourself. Spread love. That's what I try to live by. Have a code to live by.
That's the Brooklyn way, right?
Exactly, a Brooklyn way that don't affect people in a negative way.
Right.
Whatever you do, just stick to that, and you'll think you'll be all right. Love, live life. Love yourself, love life, and I think everything's full in place.
I love it. I feel like that was the fastest anyone ever answered that. I love that. You didn't even know I was going to ask it. He was ready to go.
Keep everything simple. Like when you overcomplicate it, you leave avenues open for more discrepancies and opinions. It's kind of like it wasn't really just trying to tell you what to do. It's kind of like that could fit into anybody's life. You plug and play however you feel. Like you love yourself, live your life.
Right.
Love, live life.
Love it. Straight to the point, boom. Walk past it, you get it.
Yeah, that's for the engineer, that's for the attorney, that's for the real estate agent, that's for the nurse.
Right.
They all got a passion. You love your life, you love your job, you love your kids.
Right.
That's it.
I love it. And then the last one is, has there been any sort of quotes or adages over the years that you really vibed with in regards to helping you through difficult times? And I like to ask this question primarily because when I was young, early teenage, starting my first company, Adapting, I was in this position where I was trying to find something that would motivate me, right? And so I put it up in my bedroom at my parents' house and in the bathroom when I was brushing my teeth and shit. And the quote read, "Live a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't." And what that taught me in the trials and challenges and the valleys of life, and business that like when I'm going through some shit, I'm supposed to be. Like I'm not supposed to be going through some shit. And so as long as I can keep moving forward, right, then I'll be in a better position than I am. And is there anything like that for you that maybe it could be a Tony original? I don't know.
That's what 4 a.m. is for me.
Okay.
Because those 3 letters, culture, power, freedom.
Yeah.
I feel like the more I learn my culture, figure out my background, where we come from, and you have something to stand on. And the A is pretty much God, your Allah, whatever you believe in, whatever is your God.
Yep.
So once you let your alignment out with your spirituality and what you believe in, that's your true power.
Right.
So, and that give you freedom from within and in the outside. So I live that. I live by that.
I love that.
That's what I made the brand for, and that's just not just black culture, it's any culture. Of
course.
That's why it's a stage. Listen, what's your culture? Tell me what brought you here. No, that's what I live by.
Right. So
and we monetize.
So CPF.
What's CPF?
Culture. What is that?
Culture, power, freedom. Yeah, CPF. Yeah.
A little abbreviation.
Exactly. CPF. Let me put that on.
We gotta get some T-shirts made. Yeah. CPF. I love that.
CPF. Well, that's what 4M means. Right. Those are all angel numbers. Like, if you really Google it, those each numeral stands for that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fire.
Yeah. So
you went deep into that whole thought behind it.
So it's really like, and then I'm from New York City, so I said do 4M ATL, I could do 4M Florida, 4M Vegas, because it's really just culture, power, freedom. Right. But I'm starting off in New York because this is where I'm from. I can tell you how New York is, I can tell you what my culture in New York, and then so on and so on. Right. That's where we collab with 4M China, 4M Tokyo.
I love it. I want to come check this out, this space.
More than welcome to.
I'm definitely rolling through. There's no question about it. You're not going to come and get some content.
Yeah.
But I love that.
For sure. You do content creation in there also.
Yeah, I would love that.
Let's shoot a podcast in there.
Yeah, we're going to have to. We're going to have to. And it could be cool to get some artists or people that you know that are in that, that are in the area that come or maybe who come often. Just make a big podcast, talk about them, talk about what they got going on.
Perfect.
A little exposure.
We gotta work on that idea.
We're gonna have to. I have a lot of ideas for you with that space, actually. That I would like to. Yeah.
I want you to come see it then.
Totally. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas because I have a lot of different clients that have similar quasi type spaces like that, that have really monetarily maximized them out. So we'll definitely talk about that after the podcast. But dude, I'm so grateful for you to be here. And I think time is one asset we don't get back. So you spending it here with me today. We got Texas in the building, right? So you spending us here today. I really appreciate the both of you and you coming down, man. So thank you so much. And before we pop off, boom, tell them where they can find you, social on both social channels, how they can interact with you. Someone's looking for real estate in Brooklyn. Give them the.
Well, Instagram is iHeart718. I have Instagram for 4M NYC Event Space. You can literally Google me, Tony Worrell, TonyWorrell. And you have my contact information right at the top of your screen.
Bang.
Thank you, like I said, appreciate y'all.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate you. Boom.